Okay, thank you very much. I'm delighted to be here and to see a lot of people in this room going to listen about what a PhD is, in addition to all the research you are doing. And that's exactly what I'm going to talk about in the next couple of 20, 25, maybe 30 minutes. It's acquiring generic skills. And generic skills, I will come to it in a minute about what I mean with generic skills. And in fact, acquiring these generic skills is part of getting a PhD done. So it's part of your graduate training, whether you are following courses or not, it's just part of the game. You are going to get these generic skills. And I can tell you these are a joy forever, because they're also called transferable skills, translational skills. I add that in my list a minute ago. So anyway, so that's what it is. It's a joy forever. You can enjoy that for the rest of your career. I put here a picture. It's the cover of our PhD survey, inquiry. We did last year about all the PhD students in the University of Groningen. And what you can see on this cover, you see here Marlene Jaspers. She's looking into the diploma, the bull. She's getting from the Rector Magnificus, I understand. So I just take her as an example. Last year she graduated. She got her PhD in medical sciences, so at this University Medical Center, April the 1st last year. At the moment she's working as a policy officer at the University of Groningen. I see her a lot when I discuss politics at the university. So there she's working. Not in medical sciences, so that's a completely different job. And I guess the fact that she got this position, this interesting job, it's a very interesting job, it's because she had a PhD. And in fact, it was proof for having generic skills. So my point here is, if you stay in academia, it's sure all the skills you are learning during your PhD, these are necessary. Without a PhD, no career in academia. But also outside academia. You have a lot of fun with having these generics, transferable skills. So what I'm going to talk about. So first, what are generic skills? And which of these skills are in fact the skills of a well-trained PhD? So the skills you will have when you have a PhD, at least if you're doing the right job. Then, second point, how can you learn or improve these generic skills here in Groningen? And the take-home message is, train your generic skills, because they are a joy forever, whether you stay in academia or not. So first, generic skills are also called employability skills. And I will come to this left part of this slide in a minute. Employability skills. Transferable skills. Skills you learn but you transfer to another job. Take them with you. Transferable skills. Core skills. Also core competences of you. Soft skills, if you compare it to, for instance, technical skills and research skills. In fact, if you look, it's a key of your competence, key competences or key qualities, and just the marks here, translation skills, I agree, is also a good way to describe these skills. So that's what we are going to talk about in this presentation. So now move on to this employee, rate, candidate, soft skills, qualities. Now, the first one, and I think that's a very, very, very important one, and be aware of it. It's the ability to explain your thoughts in a very eloquently way to others, in English of course, in front of an audience, just like here, but also in a team, in a debate, or just in a one-to-one conversation. That's one thing you learn during your PhD, and you can practice and you can do that, and that's a very, very important skill. So be aware of that. Then the second one, and that's what an employee will value in you if you have a PhD. The ability to work in a team. Research at the moment is almost always done in a team. So doing good research means working in a perfect way in a team. So work on that. Try to be as best as you can in working in your team. So ability to work in a team. That's a very important skill. The ability to make decisions, to solve problems, of course, that's what you are doing every day. To make decisions of how your work will proceed, doing this method or another method, just go to the supervisor or not, or go to a colleague or not. All these decisions will help you to solve problems. You are trained to make this happen. It's a skill. And employers, in fact, value that. Ability to plan, organize, and prioritize your work. That is what management of your work, project management, means. That's what you're going to do. During the way, going to have these publications, going to have, in a allotted time, your PhD done. It's the ability to plan, organize, and prioritize your work. The ability to obtain and process information. It was already also alluded to in a minute of this morning. The way data comes to you, it's enormous. Literature, your own data, data not presented by others, all these data are coming and you can manage to process that information into something you can work with. That's a skill. The ability to analyze quantitative data, same thing, etc., etc. A lot of skills, soft skills, key competences. And in fact, these abilities are personal key competences, which can be learned. Be aware of it's not something everybody has. Some of you maybe have these key competences just by birth, but believe me, most of you will learn it, and you can learn it, and you can practice it, and you can improve them. So you can train them, especially during preparation with the PhD defense. So, just if you look into the internet and look what's going on and people say about skills for a PhD, then I visit this website of the Deakin University in Australia, and they had a lot of technical skills, personal skills, intellectual skills, transferable skills, unique skills, a lot of examples there. And if you look really well, then you can say generic skills are in fact the whole area of skills which are needed in order to be able to work with other people, so communication skills there. Skills which allow you to take in and process and use information. Skills which may be learned and used in a variety of activities and employment settings, so transferable skills. So these are done during, well, your research. That's the skills you are learning there. And in addition to the ones I already showed in a slide ago, leadership, negotiation, empathy, assertiveness, summarizing, comprehending, critical thinking, creativity, etc. Knowing how to learn, initiative, ethical practice, also very important. I guess the way you work and the way you manage to present your data in an ethical way, it's something you learn during your PhD. Self-management. Now, just to give you an idea about what generic skills are. Then, yes, how can you get these skills? I guess the best way to do that is just by doing your PhD research. So that's pointed out here. Generic skills are acquired mainly by just doing your PhD research. With They're a major role for your promoter, of course, the supervisor, the team you're in, but, and I think that's the message I want to convey to you, create your own opportunities there. Seek for improvement. For instance, if you're working in a team, ask questions. Go to your promoter, discuss your ideas with him. Martin already said that. It's very important just to exchange your ideas there. Do that in your team, do it with your promoter, and take these opportunities because all these people are very willing to talk to you. You probably know that already. So take that opportunity and seek for improvement of your skills by just doing your day-to-day job. So that's the major part there. Then, what's a graduate school then? The graduate school offers a variety of educational modules for improving both research skills, so technical skills, but also generic skills. And you are entitled, you may have 20 to 30 credit points for this. Not all of you will use this 20 to 30, in fact it's 30 ECs, but I guess you can do that and take that opportunity and improve and learn about what's possible there. So that's the graduate school's part of this. If you look here, this is the PhD study guide of the Graduate School of Medical Sciences. Really beautiful piece of work. We have a lot of information there. Okay, then going to the PhD training program. The PhD training should at least lead to defending a thesis here in the big room, the aula of our university. And then a thesis should contain the results of your research, so data. Data should be in your research thesis. So a number of published papers, well, previous people already talked about that. Yes, that's okay, it's a great way of making a thesis, because you make these various chapters just by publications. There's also an introduction, a summary, and discussion. Then, PhD training, the research is done under supervision of promoter, daily supervisor. We're going to have at least 2 promoters in the next couple of years in Groningen and all over the Netherlands. So there's a team already, 1 promoter, a supervisor, and in the context of a team, a research group, what is said at a department, a research program of the research institute, the graduate school. And in fact, this is a perfect learning environment. Well, depending on the time you're allotted, 4 years, 3 years, or 2 years, just you can do this kind of training. And yes, there's also a possibility there to have active participation in various activities, like this event, seminars, congresses, research meetings, but also the way I already said that, the way you organize your day-to-day work. That will help to improve your research, but in parallel also ensures you're acquiring a lot of these very important generic skills. And the courses are offered to improve both your research and your generic skills. So just to give you an idea about what it is and how to improve. For instance, presentation skills or whatever, there are courses, they are really, really useful. Richard Janssen, developing a talent for science. He will also be one of the speakers in this conference. And here, if you want to know about project management, there's also a booklet here. And there's also a course on project management. So, courses for generic skills. If you look at the website of the Graduate School of Medical Sciences, I really hope everybody will look up this website once in a while and look what's there and what's offered there, and also the PhD study guide from the Graduate School of Medical Sciences. A lot of information there. And of course there is more information, but I will come to that in a minute. So these courses for generic skills, we have this introductory events from the university, but also from the graduate school. These just give you a taste what is possible. Should be done in the first half of your start of your PhD program. Just a taste. Then we have this PhD project management course. It's a really helpful and very important course to follow because it gives you the structure you needed for organizing your PhD, but also gives you the structure which you can use as a transferable skill in your post-PhD life. Publishing in English, presentation skills, educational skills, choosing your career in life sciences, etc., etc. It's a long list, just in the Graduate School of Medical Sciences. So that's good. Is there more? Yes, there's always more. If you look to our university, University of Groningen is a broad university. If you compare it with the University of Twente,
he left.
We are a broad university with a lot of faculties, with a lot of disciplines, and my point here is make use of that. Because there's a lot of activities offered by the other graduate schools from our university. If you do law, if you're interested in law, there's possibilities there. If you're interested in economics, there are possibilities there, etc., etc. So they are organizing courses, we are organizing courses, your graduate school, other graduate schools, there are national research schools. Some of you are a member of a national graduate school. There's also a possibility there. Follow courses in our Graduate School of Medical Sciences. Encourage you also to go other places. Information Technology, the Smith Center, the Language Center, Career Development and Training Center, Center for Teaching and Learning. There's a lot of things offered in our university. And just look, explore what's there and make use of it. Because you are entitled to have these 20 to 30, depending on the time allotted to you, EC, which you can use for these courses. And yes, be selective there. It's only those courses who can be of help, either for your research skills or for your generic skills. You should follow. So even more, yes, we have the possibility, you as a PhD student, to seek support and advice from fellow PhD students. During your starting years, there are more experienced PhD students. When you are more an experienced PhD student, you can give advice to starting PhD students. So just in your research group, but also abroad. And there are a number of activities organized by PhD students. From your research group, council, this meeting, thank you. Gopher, here in Groningen we have this Gopher organization of PhD students who organize also social activities. And Olga Sin, she's a PhD from Graduate School of Medical Sciences, together with Faris Nizamik, who's organizing the PhD Day, the University PhD Day today. And here, Grin, already mentioned, Amy Sadiasi, who is in the audience, I suppose. She is the president of Grin. So yes, these PhD communities are there, and I guess you should, if you want to be active there, well, they are very helpful, and they will welcome you. And the bottom line here is start social networks and get a lot of friends, new friends. And networking is not only a lot of fun, but it is also a very, very, very important generic skill. So I really would say to you, enjoy and just go to these activities. So that brings me to my summary. I guess during the preparation of your PhD thesis, you will learn a lot about generic skills. You will acquire these generic skills just by doing. Examples are, I told that, communication, verbally, in writing, and during presentation, very, very important skill. Teamwork, leadership, project management, data analysis, problem solving, creativity, comprehending, critical thinking, ethical practice, etc., etc. Courses can be of help. Just to give you an idea about what a generic skill is, specialist generic skill, and give you the principles there. But the practice and the improvement should be done in your own research team. So use the opportunities there and create your own opportunities, also in your day-to-day research. So that's my last slide here. The importance of acquiring the right generic skills is often forgotten or taken for granted during the preparation of a PhD thesis, but these skills are in fact the most important part of this PhD training and are enjoyed forever, whether you stay in academia or not. Well, yesterday I was on a conference of the VSME, the Society of Collaborating Universities in the Netherlands. We talked about the new way, the promotion scheme as the third phase of the Bologna. I just heard about it, and PNN was also there. So there was a lot of discussion about what to do with the way we will organize the PhD training in the next couple of years. We have now a system in place for about 9-10 years. Started from so 9 years ago. And we have now the possibility to write a thesis, to do the research, but also to have in the graduate schools, because that was the start of the graduate school system, the possibility to do courses and to make more of just only doing research, but also to make more of your PhD training. And the idea of yesterday during this conference was that in the next couple of 10 years we are going to to give more emphasis on this graduate school generic skill part of your PhD training. So it should be a little bit more broader, whether it should be T-shaped, the horizontal bar being all your generic skills, or it should be M-shaped, I don't know, but anyway, there should be more to it than only doing research. And I think that's a good development. And I think what we are doing here in Groningen already for a couple of years with our graduate school medical sciences, but also the other graduate schools are already doing this kind of idea of making a PhD more than just writing papers. So my take-home message today for you is be aware of the opportunities and start training all these very, very important skills today by networking. Thank you.
Does anyone have a question for you? Yes.
First of all, thank you. Is it up? Right. Well, first of all, thank you very much for a very informative talk. I'm wondering, back in the days when you did your PhD, I can imagine it was a bit different. PhDs have been there, I think, at this university for hundreds of years already. And I'm wondering, what is really changing in the last 20, 30 years? How is a PhD now different from a PhD in the time you did this?
Well, going back to the days when I started with my PhD, well, you get a position here in the... I got my PhD in the biochemistry department in Groningen. When I started, okay, you started just the first year I did my PhD, I set up a lab. Of course, there was nothing there. So I started to, just doing, starting up chromatography, whatever technique I should use in my research. I didn't know what to do. So the first year I just set up techniques. And after 1 year, because there was no, at that time, when I started, there was no restriction in time. So you could go forever if you want. At least that was the idea. So after 1 year, my promoter said to me, okay, Lou, 1 year here now, where are you going, what do you want to do? So I felt, okay, maybe during that 1 year I had thoughts about what would be an interesting topic, and so okay, I want to look to protein synthesis. That was my interest in the membranes of bacteria. I said, okay, go ahead. So that's it. So I started with my research, and I had a lot of papers then, and got my PhD after 5 years. And the reason why it was 5 years was that, I guess, 3 or 4 months after my 3 or 4 months before my 4th year, they introduced a PhD is only 4 years. So that was a little bit a problem for me, because I thought I could go forever. So I started to work very, very, very hard, and finished, in fact, almost 3/4 of my PhD in 1 year. So that's the difference.
Yeah.
So when we started, there was no limit. But during my PhD, there became this 4-year limit. And also, yeah, it was only doing research and a lot of education, because we had a lot of education. We should give a lot of courses as a PhD student. I guess if you count up, I guess 1 year of my PhD period was spent on just giving courses, not for my research projects. So there was a lot of, it was not so structured as it is now.
Okay.
So you should remember there are only a few PhD students at that time. The number of PhD students is much more. So it should be structured, and it is much more structured these days.
And
That's a bit different.
which situation would you prefer? Do you prefer?
I don't know. I had a lot of fun there, but also at the end of my PhD period, a lot of stress, I can tell you, because I had to finish. I already had a postdoc position in Amsterdam at that moment, and I had to finish my PhD thesis, of course. So there was a lot of stress. It's one of the reasons why I really say to everybody going to have a PhD these days is be aware of the time allotted to you. Don't try to write your PhD thesis during your postdoctoral or whatever other position you have after that, because there's a lot of stress. It's not good for you.
Okay.
So that was not the most fun.
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
Any other questions?
Well, I will essentially continue the topic raised by the previous person. Comparing the PhD back in the years that you did it and PhDs now. So you're talking about, you said that the amount of time that you got was comparable to what we get now. The question is then, what about the necessary numbers of publications that you need to have to defend?
Completely the same. If you look to these PhD defenses, 30 years ago, 40 years ago, completely the same. So I have also 4 research chapters with published papers or in press papers, an introduction and discussion. But what you should not forget is that the way research is done these days is completely different as compared to what I did in my PhD. So things change. Just to give you an example, when I had to write the thesis itself, it took me 1 month just by typing this PhD thesis by myself on these, they were printed in a way that you have to put all these numbers by yourself. And if you have one error in typing, then you can go again, starting again with a complete new page. So the way research was done, things were done was completely different. So it took much more time than nowadays.
Okay.
But in fact, the result, of course, a paper these days is completely different than a paper of 40 years ago.
Okay. One more follow-up.
Not very helpful, isn't it?
No. And one more follow-up question on this. So you were talking that you had to work really hard in the last year to to finish the book. Was it that you didn't think that you had enough data, or was the problem that you didn't have enough publications?
I didn't have enough data and not enough publications. Well, simply because if you look, I spent 1 year in setting up the lab. I spent 1 year in doing all these courses. I'm not giving all these courses, setting up in fact these courses. So I had 1.5 years for just getting data before my end of the 4th year, and I didn't know that before. So it was very difficult for me at that time. So I had 1 additional year just to get all these data done, which was well, successful in the end, of course, but a lot of hard work.
Thank you for your talk. So now more and more PhD positions for 3 years are offered. How do you feel about this? Is it enough time to really get all these generic skills and be a full trained PhD after these 3 years?
Yeah, good question, because 3-year positions are only positions offered to research master students who have been selected as research master students. So these are already the better students, I suppose. Selected research master students who get a very tough education during their 2 years of research master, who are given the possibility to write a proposal. So they have already acquainted all the literature which is attached to what they are going to do. They've written their proposal, they know exactly what they are going to do. And in these 2 years they also get a lot of generic skills. So a lot of the things they are learning during this research period and research master period are meant to give them a lot of generic skills. So they have already a kickstart. I should compare it to a PhD student which come and there is a proposal and should be reading about it and thinking about it, and then you start. So yes, I guess for a normal PhD thesis, 3 years is more than enough. So that's the way I think about it. And the other point I really like to make here is that we are offering students, at least in this graduate school of medical sciences, who are having these kind of positions, that if they really want to go on for a career in academia, then I guess they should try to have a cum laude thesis defense, because that I'm in a lot of committees judging about all kind of proposals. And if people have a cum laude PhD defense, I think, okay, they are good. So there's a very big plus. And I guess we as a graduate school should give our PhD students a cum laude. We think that they are working very good. And then give them a kickstart for the rest of their academic career. So these cum laude promotions are given to students who have these 3 years, but also other PhD students, of course, if they do really nice work. And then they have an additional 4th year for doing this very high-ranking papers. They are preparing for trying to get funding for going for a postdoctoral fellowship abroad in a very high-ranking institute. So do a 2-year postdoc there, and then maybe they can come back here with a daily proposal, which gives them at least an hour UMCG kickstart for academic career. Whether you are a clinical PhD or you are a non-clinical, just a fundamental research PhD. So that's the way we are thinking about this 2 years plus 3 years, and 5 years of education to do research. The possibility to get an extension for 1 year.
Well, how about the 2-year MD PhD program is even 1 year shorter than a 3 year? What's your opinion on that?
I can tell you that it's a 3 years doing your rotations, and then 2 years it's 1 year general year, then 2 year rotation, and then 2 year research. In fact, you're talking about 5 years. In the first year of your master, you are also going to write this proposal, as you know. And also there's the possibility to do some previous work which already should lead to the writing of one paper. So when they start with the MD PhD, they also have a kickstart. The same thing as with the 2+3 in the normal master PhD track. So that's for one. So they have more time and they have a kickstart. So it's not 2 years, but it's in fact, if you organize it well, it can be done also a little bit more. These 2 years. And also there, if you look to the quality of the PhD thesis, which are produced by MD PhD students, in the end, there's a big survey done here in the University Medical Center that the quality is completely comparable to the quality of the PhD theses that are made by comparable PhD students with a just ordinary, normal employment. So if you organize it well, and it's one of the things you really should learn doing your MD PhD, because that's what you are going to need also in your further career. If you want to be at a university, in a university medical center, you also should learn how to combine clinical work, say rotations, or clinical work in the end, with doing research. And if you are capable of that, it's a very important generic skill, as I told you, then yes, it's possible to have a very good, high-ranking PhD defense. So it's a great success, this MD PhD. We have a lot of people doing this MD PhD. Hard work, it's a lot of success. Yeah?
Thank you.
Are there any more questions?
It's not a specific question for Luc, but it's a remark on the transferable skill. What I see sometimes when I'm there in scientific discussions in departments, that when there is a presentation and there is a discussion on the science, that the PhD students don't mix in this discussion. Do you recognize that? Is that something you recognize? You have some kind of break in not interfering, in not saying something, not argumenting in this discussion. Does anybody recognize that or say this is a nonsense remark? Do you recognize that?
Yeah, I do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so, and this is an important thing, because this is an important transferable skill, and so to be able to discuss and make your point, and it's a period you can learn that. And then the problem is, I think, when you're at home in the kitchen table, you have no problem with discussing anything. So you don't feel inhibited, to use that word. And we're all behaving like monkeys. And so in a department where you have a professor, more than one professor, from the head of the department, he or she is the alpha male on the monkey rock. Yeah. So you don't want to interfere in the discussion. And that's what you have to learn then. That's when that happens, you have to realize that you are now behaving humble because you think you are at a lower level. Not because you're younger, but because your scientific level is lower. But the professor expects from you that you go into the discussion and you are allowed to make mistakes. So you should allow yourself to make mistakes, because by making these mistakes, you learn. So that is what you have to do during your PhD period, to go into this discussion and don't feel inhibited to do that. That was something I thought this is good to make this remark. And I think the PhD students who have learned that. It's also a cultural difference. So we have many nationalities. In many cultures, it's not done when you are younger and at a lower level to go in this discussion. But in science, you are allowed to do that, and you should do that. And certainly in an international environment, you have to do that. And otherwise, you will not be successful. And this is just the message.
It's a strong message. Thank you. Does anyone want to respond or have another question? Okay, sir.
When you go to a congress, just to add up with this, if you go to a congress and you are in a big meeting like this and there's a very high level science presentation, I guess you should make an appointment with yourself that I will have to ask one question. And really you should do that. It's the first question you ask in a big international conference, and you are the PhD student, question. Boing, boing, boing. Anyway, you should do it.
And you can practice during this conference, so that's good.
That's right. That's
Okay,
right.
well,
Okay, she's practicing now. Okay.
in addition, I see a lot of women here. Maybe that has something to do with the fact that we don't speak up, because mainly women. And in general, women.
I don't think it's an excuse not to speak
No,
up.
I'm not saying it's an excuse, but also like cultural differences. Maybe this is the reason.
I really don't hope so.
It should not be. It should not be. But there are cultural differences, and maybe some women feel that. But what Lou just said, once these things happen, you know, it's also my own experience. So you have a question, you think I could ask this question, but you don't do it, and then suddenly you realize I'll do it because of this and this reason. Then you have to go over this hurdle. And so the moment you realize it, you think, okay, now I'm going to go for this. And that's something you have to do. And yes, there are strong cultural differences, and those people who come from a culture where women should not or not allowed to speak up, they have to really go over a bigger hurdle. Because in science, these hurdles are simply not there.
Thank you.
Okay, any last question before lunch? Yes, there she is.
Yeah, just commenting further about the same thing. So I'm a woman, I'm from different culture, so I don't think I feel inhibited because of that. So that's nothing,
Okay,
but it's
great.
more about like, okay, like as we discussed just now, like there's an alpha monkey who is like talking about it, and then the level of discussion is so high that even if you break in and talk about what you think, it's more about, oh, it's not worth discussing because it's already known. So it's something like that, like how to deal with this situation then. And like you feel like, okay, then why should I ask a question, because it's already known, might be I have to just read some papers and that's it. So
Yeah,
how to
sure.
deal with it.
Yeah, but also if something is not explained very well, you just can ask, could you explain that again, because it was not clear for me. You should not do that in an international conference with thousands or thousands of course. But in a small conference, yes, you can do, because if it's you don't understand it, probably most of the audience won't understand it. So then you just can ask about it. And the other point is, if you go to the presentation and you make this appointment with yourself, I must have a question. Then you're very keen of listening about all what they're saying about, okay, it doesn't sound well. And then can I ask about this, and then the next month. But in the end, I can guarantee you will come up with a question. And just try to do it.